It's time to pick a side. The Border War is on the air with BG and TanMan. All right, true believers, welcome into episode 139 of The Border War. This is BG. I am joined in the studio to my right, in more ways than one, by the TanMan.
Actually, I'm back. I know BG had his solo show last week. Great job, by the way.
I don't even remember that show.
Great job, by the way. It seemed like you might have had a little extra.
I may have had a couple of beverages before I started.
You had a little extra. There was a lot of "we just suck" in there. It was hilarious. I loved it, man. Great job.
Well, that was an allusion to one of my sports radio icons from here in Spartan.
I assumed that it was.
Anyway, thanks for listening. There are multiple ways to catch us online: Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. What am I leaving out?
Oh, man, basically everything.
TuneIn Radio app.
Whatever, iHeartRadio, whatever way you prefer to consume your podcasts, search for the Border War Podcast, and we are there. If we're not, let us know. We'll get there.
We are splitting our football in half this week, so this episode is going to be about our college teams from In the Box and TanMan. We're going to start up in Chapel Hill this week. You guys almost pulled off the shot heard round the world. It wasn't quite there. I've got my thoughts on some possible mistakes Mac Brown might have made in that game. But obviously, we all want to hear what you thought about the game. I'm sure you're at least very proud of your guys. And then, moreover, we need to talk about what this means for Clemson.
Well, to start off with the Tar Heel, you are absolutely right. I am extremely proud of the effort that they gave up Saturday. Look, going in, I think we were both kind of had this feeling like, yeah, this might not be pretty, and if it started going sideways early, it was going to be a long day.
I thought Clemson was going to win this game by 35 or 40 points. I really did, and it wasn't just a talent thing. I just thought that this would be a game that was a big enough "quote unquote" game to catch Clemson's attention. And don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from you guys, but they continue to sleepwalk through this season. It is going to catch them.
What was the spread? 24?
Yeah.
See, I think I took Carolina in the 24, but in all honesty, I kind of felt like this was going to be a 3-touchdown game. Maybe hang around for a quarter or so. I love the aggressiveness right out of the gate because that's one thing we haven't seen so far in any of the first 4 games.
You guys have fallen behind every single week, and twice you've clawed back out. Twice you haven't.
Right. We constantly seem to find ourselves behind the 8 ball, needing fourth quarter comebacks to try and get a win. We didn't do that. We actually led. We led or tied. Clemson did not take the lead until that last possession there. But look, I don't know that we had a whole lot left in the tank. I know Mac Brown talked about it some after the game. He said, listen, we were going for 2. We had guys on the sideline, defensive guys on the sidelines, limping around, and I completely agree. It was the right call. I really don't even have a problem with the play call, to be honest with you. I think Clemson, listen, there's a reason Brett Venables is the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country. They snuffed it out. They had a feeling it was coming. They read it. They nailed it.
We all know how this stuff works.
It is what it is.
If it had worked, it would have been a great play call. If they had run something cute, if they had run a blind bootleg to the other side and your man gets blown up in the backfield, then everybody's criticizing
that. Then he gets killed for that too.
The call I had a problem with, and you and I have already talked about this, or I texted you about it that night, was early in the fourth quarter when North Carolina, I think, was at their own 45-yard line, and I wasn't watching on TV. I got sent to the grocery store, so I'm listening on the radio, but they decide to go for it on 4th and 1 at a time in the game when I felt like North Carolina had all the momentum. It was 14-14. Right?
Right.
And Clemson, when being pinned deep, their offense, you were stuffing ETN all night long. He wasn't breaking loose. Trevor Lawrence looked uncomfortable to me. The moment looked a little too big for Clemson. It certainly didn't look big enough too big for North Carolina. And I would have punted, given them the ball inside the 15-yard line somewhere back then, and had faith in your defense. But to me, when you let them have the ball up in your own territory, it changes everything for Lawrence in that offense. And they capitalized on it, and from that point on, you trailed.
All right, well, let me pitch this to you, because I completely get where you're coming from. But if you're Mac Brown, you know your team better than anybody else in the stadium, right?
Yeah.
If you're over there and you look at the clock, and there was, if memory's serving me right, there was somewhere around 9 minutes to go, right? If you punt that ball back, and you pinned Clemson back at their 15, and you feel like your defense doesn't have another stop in them, because they scored 5 or 6 plays right after that.
Right.
If you feel like your defense doesn't have another stop in them, because
Sure.
They were fantastic. They were fantastic all day.
But they were running on fumes.
But they were done.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have another stop, would you rather give it to them and have them, have Clemson score as quickly as possible to get another possession? Because I feel like if you pin Clemson back, I feel like they're going to come down and score anyway, and then you're left with maybe 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes instead of the 8 minutes or so that they got on that last drive.
Well,
so I get it. You take the shot when it's there. So I don't have as big a problem with that call, I think, as you do.
Yeah, well,
I understand why.
You can go back to South Carolina's game against Alabama, right? And I think Mac Brown and Will Muschamp took similar approaches. Like, we're going to roll the dice over and over and over, because chances are, if we just play straight up football, they're going to whip our tail. So, and I get where you're coming from.
And see, I had a lot of people even today still wanting to come up and talk about the game, and I had half a dozen say they should have kicked that extra point. To me, listen, I think they were done. I had a conversation with my dad Sunday morning. I said, I think they were done stopping Clemson, and I think that they were done scoring. That last drive, what did they get? 2 or 3 fourth down conversions? Like, that was it, man.
Yeah.
We got the touchdown. That was it. We were going to win or we were going to lose on that 2-point conversion. And again, there's a reason Brent Venables is the highest paid defensive coordinator in the nation. Listen, tip your cap to Clemson. They read it right. Dabo said after the game that Venables told him, I think that this may be what they go with, but it wasn't boom, he nailed it.
It wasn't a case where Mac Brown said to a reporter on national television, "This is the next play we're going to run." That's not what happened, right?
I sure hope not.
I didn't think so.
I sure hope
you know about that, right?
I do not.
We'll get to it in a minute.
Okay,
We'll get to it in a minute.
No, listen. Tip your cap to North Carolina. There's no way. If you had said before the season, look, after Clemson, what do you think your record's going to be? You just said 2-3, right?
Sure.
The schedule's full of winnable games from here on out. I saw a lot of North Carolina fans hitting the panic button after the loss to Appalachian State, knowing what was ahead with the Clemson game. Hopefully, that brings some of those naysayers back over to the side, because again, you got Georgia. You got to get well game this week. You got Georgia Tech. We'll talk about it in the picks list.
Not a good football team.
Not a good football team.
A team that's running an offense that they don't have a single person on the field capable of running.
Listen, Temple has gained some respectability from what they were a decade ago.
Yeah.
They got to be 24-2, man.
Yeah.
They're bad. So the chances are there for the Tar Heels to, now you've gotten through kind of this really difficult start to season.
There's still a chance you don't lose another game.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's still a chance you don't lose another game.
You look at the schedule and
I think
with what's left, you got the trip to Blacksburg. Did you see Virginia Tech the other night? Duke beat them by about 30 in Blacksburg. That's a team ready to quit on Fuentes. A lot of winnable games out there for North Carolina.
I tell you what, though, I was just about to say that. I can't wait for your matchup with the Blue Devils this year. I think that's going to be a slobber knocker right there.
Duke, NC State, but NC State just went down to Florida State and lost. Florida State is not a good football team.
No.
Listen, man, I will say this. I've always been a so college. I love college. I watch college football.
Well, let's be honest, though. You haven't had a team to pull for.
That's what I was saying. When Butch Davis came, they got really good. Now we know some of why that, but that's a different story. Really got it. I am as fired up right now about North Carolina football as I've ever been. Like this I am ready to go, man. This is good stuff. They are on the right track.
I have to say too that and keep in mind, I said this about Muschamp a couple of years ago too, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but Matt Brown just seems to fit that place like a glove.
Perfect.
He's like Roy Williams' long lost cousin.
Yes.
I mean, it just feels like the same guy doing the same stuff. Both of them can't dance, but they'll still do it in public.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I got you.
That's cool.
I got you, man.
Moving to the other side of Saturday's game at Chapel Hill, BG, the Clemson Tigers, we're number one.
Yeah.
I don't think they're number one now.
They're not, but it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Did the Tar Heels expose the chink in the armor a little bit, or is it the same chink that we kind of brought up a few weeks ago?
I don't think exposed is the right word. And again, I know this sounds. I'm not taking up for Clemson, right?
Right.
If whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing that. So don't take this the wrong way. You guys didn't expose them. Clemson's exposing themselves.
I agree.
Clemson is exposing, and we've wondered about this. Do you remember before last season? We talked about this on our college football preview, and I said if there's one thing that Dabo Swinney fascinates me with is his ability to keep these guys dialed in with the schedule they play, with the talent they've got. Well, at least for right now. Now, it could change this week.
Maybe this is what kind of pokes the button a little bit, but I don't know, man.
But it just doesn't look like they're interested in winning. Because let's just be honest. I mean, the Clemson team that beat Alabama, and I know it's a different team every year, but a lot of these guys are the same, minus the defensive line. I mean, they could beat your team and my team, our best players put together on a team by 30 points.
They should.
But they just, it's not there right now. And here's my thing. There was a time in that game, right, where you thought, all right, this is when Clemson needs to up it. Because they did it versus Syracuse last year, right? They're losing that game. And there was, early in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden Clemson took over that football game. That never happened this week.
Yeah, and
that didn't happen.
You kept waiting for it, but time and time again, North Carolina made the plays on defense.
And Clemson made one play that won them the game, but they legitimately could have lost that football game. I mean, really on that one play. Because I don't think they would have gone. Everybody's like, well, they'd have just gone down and kicked the field goal. I'm like, in the game I was watching.
Which is entirely, because again, it's entirely possible. They had 2 timeouts. They still had a minute and some change. I really think if we had gotten the conversion, I really do feel like Clemson would have come down, kind of like the Des Bryant catch that they said he didn't catch, where Green Bay had like 4 minutes. They were going to come down and kick a field, and they were going to win that game anyway.
To be fair, Des never even touched that football. I don't even know why we're still talking about it.
He did catch that ball. I'm with you. I think I wouldn't necessarily say they were exposed, because I think when you use the term exposed, to me that says North Carolina found something.
Yeah,
they found something that no one else could find.
Something was true about Clemson that's not,
and it's not. North Carolina didn't do for as well as they played. I don't think that they did anything out of the ordinary. They didn't do anything spectacular. They didn't find a weakness and latch onto it and attacked it. Listen, they tackled well. They ran the football, and that's it. They didn't do anything. Like I said, out of the ordinary.
They didn't let Clemson beat them, and we've talked about this over and over. This offense. I remember us talking about a game coming up about this time last year. I don't remember which game it was, but Clemson invariably gouges you on a couple of plays, and they go 60 yards. Mm-hmm. And that's what you kept from happening. It was almost like when they couldn't hit. I don't know if you've ever listened to a Clemson broadcast with Don Munson and those guys.
I try my best not to.
Don't.
I try my best not to.
I have never in my life. They disrespected you guys to a degree that I've never heard it. I mean, like, they kept saying things like, we can't let North Carolina back in this game, and the score's tied at 14, TanMan. I'm like, they're in the game, Don. All right? But they kept, and Taj Boyd, God bless him. Over and over, he's like, I think ETN's going to take one to the house any second now. And I'm like, are you talking to the audience, or are y'all talking to yourself? Are you trying to will this to happen? Because it's not happening. Not tonight.
No, not on the North Carolina defense. Not that. If they played 10 times, Clemson probably rocks them 9 of those times. But they only get one crack at it, and North Carolina stood in there and traded punches with what a lot of people thought was the best team in the country. So that brings me to my next point before we move on to the Gamecocks, BG. I think right now Paul Feinbaum is absolutely right. If we started the 14 playoff today, I think Clemson would be left out, and I think that there's a real chance that when we get to the playoff, that Clemson may find themselves as that 4th team.
there are more teams this year that look legit, that are undefeated, and I looked at some of those teams' schedules. I think there's a genuine chance that there might be 5, maybe 6 teams in this argument.
Well, the only problem with that is, I assume
some of them are going to eliminate each other.
I assume you're including Georgia and LSU, and between them and Alabama
and Auburn,
those things are going to kind of eat them. So I think Clemson's path to the playoff is still crystal clear.
It is.
The only thing left on their schedule, they've got Wake Forest coming to their place. Come on, man. And then you're talking about maybe a matchup with Virginia in the ACC title game, which I'm kind of getting a little off the Virginia bandwagon after the last few weeks. Or maybe potentially even a rematch with North Carolina, which I don't think would look anything like what we saw Saturday. But again, I think right now, no, I would not put Clemson as one of the 4 best teams in the country. No way. No how. Maybe not even 5th, 6th.
And people need to quit throwing the national championship. I mean,
that's over. It's a different team, man. It's not last year.
This can't be about resume.
No.
This has to be about this season. But Tiger fans, if you're yelling at your radio right now, look,
if any of them listen to us, we don't really even know if any of them listen to us.
Well, I mean, Clemson fans typically are not interested if it's not all about them. I mean, that's a thing, and we're certainly fair. We've given Clemson more than their share of love on this show, but look, you've got the rest of the season. It's a good time for them to have a bye week.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe this is the game they needed to get a little kick in the pants, because they certainly haven't had it yet.
Something about this season feels different from last year.
You mentioned the word resume. I think that's an interesting word to throw out there.
You said Will Muschamp needs to be updating his.
Well, no, I was going to say this was a huge resume-building win for Willie Muschamp down at Billy Bryce Saturday night. The curse is over.
Yeah.
The Gamecocks have finally ended the Kentucky Wildcats win streak. How are you feeling this weekend?
Well, I'll say this. Okay. I'm not going to break this game down a lot.
Because it was terrible.
I think early on, it was really, really obvious that I don't know if Kentucky's quarterback was dealing with some health issues. I know he's not their starting quarterback. Stoops said before the game, we're just hoping our quarterback can play. I mean, so he looked to me like Ryan Helinski looked the week before.
Yeah,
something was clearly wrong with his arm. He wasn't throwing the ball well. But what Kentucky has always done, these past 5 wins, is they've run the ball right up our throat, and they did not do that.
No, they didn't.
South Carolina's defense was stout. They played their best game of the season. Probably played their best game of the past 12 games, going all the way back to last year. I'll say this, man. Look, this is, if you really think about it, this is the first game in a long, long time that South Carolina should have beat somebody up, and they did.
Right.
I mean, so I know, and yes, it's just Kentucky. Even though we lost to them 5 years in a row, it's still just Kentucky. But it is a step forward. If it maybe gets some of these guys past this mental block of, because we remember what happened the last time we played a night game against Kentucky 2 years ago. They whipped our tails.
Listen, I think, saying it's just Kentucky, well, when they've beaten you 5 years in a row, and then you have people saying, it's just Kentucky. Like, I think this is a big deal. I think getting over this mental hump
more than
Kentucky, we can't beat this basketball
being Kentucky specifically. Right, that's what I was going to say. It's a team you should beat that you did. It wasn't a 2-point win. You beat them.
I'll be honest, it went about the way I expected it to. Just something told me, I kind of had this feeling. It's a night game. South Carolina has been getting just drilled every time you turn around. There's been nothing positive out of that fan base and that program for basically all season. Like, it was time for them to come out and put the hammer on somebody. This was it. They did it. Yeah, I thought Feaster was he was Saturday night what everybody was hoping he would be all year long. You guys did a great job. I think it was spreading the carries.
And we actually ran the football.
Right, between Feaster and Dowdle. Stats basically even. Both topped 100 yards. Great. So does this maybe get some of the pressure off Will Muschamp? Because that's been a popular topic. That has been not popular. That has been the topic for the last 3 or 4 weeks now. I didn't see that much of it over the weekend. People could just kind of let that one alone for now.
Well, I mean, I think it got some of the pressure off. And this sounds stupid, but, I mean, you've watched how volatile the South Carolina fan base is, at least online. I'll tell you what got a lot of the pressure off Muschamp for a lot of people was his absolutely hilarious press conference. Right?
Oh, so you mean he didn't try to break down and have a film session behind the microphone?
And Kevin McCrary, credit to him. I don't even know what K-Mac does anymore. He's not really affiliated.
I think he's just like a professional Twitterer.
Well,
a Twitter troll.
And he's good at it.
He's good.
He's good at it. But he tweeted out, okay, well, first of all, going back to the first thing I alluded to, which you clearly didn't catch, I guess, because you weren't watching the game. So Muschamp
cut it off at halftime.
Muschamp comes off the field at halftime, and Cole Cubitt comes up to him and says, "Hey, Coach, how are you feeling?" He goes, "We need to run the ball more. We need to run our 12 personnel. We need to run the ball to the nub side." All right. What sound am I waiting on? Nothing's happening.
Well, I turned the volume down because I didn't want things to pop up.
But it booed. We couldn't hear it. Okay. Anyway, so they come out from halftime, and Jordan Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers' estranged brother.
Clown, man. Clown. That's a different story.
Says, look, they're lining up in the 12 formation. And he points. He says, this is the nub side right here. Let's see if they run the ball that way. First play from scrimmage. Dowdle takes it 60 yards for a touchdown.
Hey, listen, that's a sign of a bad dude, though. When you can say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come right out here, line up just like this, and this is what we're going to run. And they run it.
And, of course,
they're
like,
like that.
Did nobody tell?
Will Muschamp's a bad man on Saturday.
Nobody tell Stoops that they were going to run that. And they asked him about it after the game. He said, well, they didn't have anybody over there, so we thought running over that side would be good. And when they said, were you worried that you would say? He said, no, because they lined up in the same defense. We just ran the ball over there because there's nobody there to make the tackle. And then
I bet there was a call on Sunday morning from Bob Stoops to Will Muschamp. Oh, you got me.
Yeah,
didn't think you'd do it.
During the game, this Professor Boom hashtag starts trending because Muschamp's got these geeky little half moon glasses on. And they asked him about it after the game. And he says, well, I can't see anymore, especially at night. I'm getting old. And there's this pause, and you can see him just sort of let some of the stress out. And, I mean, if you've got kids listening, turn it off. He says, it's been a shitty month. And the whole press room just starts dying laughing. And he's like, look. He's like, I'm a loser right now. My wife won't talk to me. It's been a bad month. Guys, what do you want me to say?
Sounds about right.
Now you're going to say something about the fact that I can't see. And he just sits there, and it was hilarious. And K-Mac tweeted out, he goes, this Muschamp
be that guy.
Is much more likable.
Yeah, be that guy.
Man. And it was like, and when he says stuff like, I've been having people walk up to me all week and say, are you all right, Coach? And he's like, man, yeah, I'm great. I just want to win some more football games. I want to retire here. Like, part of you wants to say, well, I'm sure you do. But I don't think it's a ploy, right? I think he knows he can go be a defensive coordinator.
I think he also knows that this is the last run. If this fails, he's not getting another head coaching job.
But I also, the sentimental side of me, believes that, or wants to believe that he likes it in Columbia. He likes that program. He fits there. And so, yeah, I'm pulling for him for more reasons than just him being his head coach. And I've always thought he's kind of a misunderstood guy. But the ranting Muschamp from the sidelines and stuff, we haven't seen that at South Carolina. And I kind of like I've said with Frank Martin, man, Ray Tanner, take the leash off of him. Let him be him. You hired him.
Yeah.
You hired him 3 weeks after he was prevented from killing a referee on the sideline in the Iron Bowl. I mean, let him be him or don't hire these guys. And in our next show, we're going to talk a lot about that same issue with Jay Gruden. Okay? When you hire a coach, let him coach. All right?
I agree. I've said the same thing about Frank Martin all along. Listen, you don't like his language? He was using that language 20 years before he ever got down there. Don't hire him.
Right. Well, he didn't. That's the issue there.
Well,
Tanner didn't hire him. But anyway, he did hire Muschamp. And I mean, invariably you hear Florida fans talk about this. They'll come on to Gamecock message boards and say, look, guys, I get it. For years and years, man, he talks a great game. His ex-players love him. He doesn't have... So that's why...
Well, it seems like he does most things right. It just doesn't translate to wins on the field.
When Josh Bell comes out and says he tried to pull my scholarship, everybody's like, nah, he didn't. That is not who he is. He didn't do that. And that's why that story didn't go anywhere. But you're right.
It did kind of die, didn't it?
It did. Because I think he's got a lot of allies in the college football world. But you're right. It hasn't translated to wins, and I think there's a chance this Kentucky win ends up being a big one. If South Carolina wins the rest of the games this year, it should, and one more.
I think you're looking at A&M. That, to me, that's...
I think either A&M or Florida. I think in the right situations, those are both winnable games.
Yeah.
Florida is not a good football team.
No, they're very good. They're just not in that top group. They're in that next group.
We'll see. It's certainly not going to be this coming game against Georgia. It's certainly not going to be against Clemson. But let me listen. You need to go to Tennessee and you need to hand them their butt. You need to go. You need to win those games.
And you can't beat Tennessee 21-17, and you can't beat Vanderbilt 24-4. Like, you need to go out there and make a statement in those two games. I will say, I think getting this bye week, coming off this win is huge because look, you're probably not going to beat Georgia. But we also said the same thing last Saturday about North Carolina and Clemson. Getting this bye week is huge. You get a nice win, and you not real competitive. You pretty much dominated really from the get go.
Let's talk about this. You want to go into Athens in 2 weeks, and you want to have people come out of that game going, "Hey, they played a good game, man. That Helsinki's the real deal.
Exactly.
That team can run the football."
I think it's huge, and also listen. Thumbs up to the Gamecock fans because listen, look, it was not good in Gamecock world the last few weeks.
That place was
packed and they were loud. I saw it at the beginning of the game on TV. I can imagine what it was like down there. I know it was on fire. Good job, man.
Yeah.
Well,
they didn't stay the whole game.
They didn't stay the whole game, but listen, I cut it off at halftime. You showed up.
It was not an entertaining second half.
Well, it wasn't an entertaining first half either.
It was 2 quarters of us running the ball to try to run the clock down.
Punt. Between that and Nebraska literally getting murdered on the field at the same time, it's like the Peter Griffin meme where he just stands up and waves his hands and says, "Done." That was me. That was me Saturday night.
That
Done.
being said,
I'm out.
there are some issues still. I mean, South Carolina punted 9 times in this game. Helsinki had 140 yards passing.
Is he still banged up a little?
That's what I think.
I think he's still banged up
I think he just didn't look right. I want to see the way he throws the ball against Georgia because if he goes down there, I mean, he's got enough bullets flying at him now that he should be over that initial, I don't have my head in this game. I suspect he's going to rise to the occasion and play pretty well in Athens, but it won't be his health if he doesn't.
Yeah.
Not the injury that they've listed, and after 2 weeks of not playing live football, he should be fine.
Yeah,
if that's the case.
Oh, I hope so. Because I don't want South Carolina to go down there and get murdered and get pounded and Helsinki be. Listen, you go down there. I want to see your best shot, and I know you do too. I want the best shot and give Georgia a run for their money, man.
I've seen 2 different mock drafts right now that have South Carolina sending 2 guys into the league in the first round. It's not a talentless team.
Yeah. Who's the other? I know Kinlaw is one.
Kinlaw's third overall.
Wow.
Brian Edwards.
Really?
Around about 25, 26, somewhere down in there.
Really?
Well, and I kind of question that too because he clearly doesn't have NFL speed, but I think what scouts like about him is his route running.
Yeah, but I see that, and then I think back to Quinshot Davis, and Quinshot Davis could get drafted.
Yeah.
And this guy's going to go,
Well,
I don't know about that.
How much did Quinshot weigh his senior year? That's got a lot to do with it, too.
Yeah, look, Edwards is a big guy.
Yeah, that's got a lot to do with it.
I don't know. All right, to the picks list, BG. There's no Clemson, no South Carolina on this week, so I think we get a little interesting with the picks. I'm tired of picking Michigan, and let's throw some things in there. Last week on the college slate.
I know what you're doing. You're just trying to change the game up, get your lead back.
You did not do well. I did. Unfortunately, I gave that back on the NFL side. Last week I'm 5-5, still below 500 by a game on the year. You were 6-4. You trailed by 3 games. Tulane at Army. The Black Knights getting 3.5 points, BG. I'm going with Army in this one. I've seen these teams each play one time this year. Tulane needed a long pass at the end of the game to beat Houston, and Army stood in Ann Arbor, went toe-to-toe with the Wolverines. Give me the Knights. I'll take the points and the Knights.
I'm going to take the Green Wave.
That's a cool name, man.
Is it?
I don't like I saw them once and they were wearing all light blue uniforms.
That
I'm like,
makes no sense.
You're green, man. You're green. Number 7, Auburn, one of the handful of ranked matchups we've got this week. The Tigers going to the Swamp. The Gators getting 3.5 points.
Oh, I'm going with Auburn all the way on this one.
I agree. Look, I was down on. I won't say down. I wasn't bought in on Auburn to start the year.
Another coach who does better when he lets himself have a personality.
Well, Gus Malzahn is the.
Think about how many times they've wanted to fire him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Gus Malzahn is the Jason Garrett of college football. Like every time you're getting ready to get fired, that team wins like 11 games, man.
Is there a lesson there though? Sometimes maybe we need to be a little more patient. We'll see.
Well, I don't know. We'll talk about that in the next show as well.
No, that's a different situation.
I'm going to take Auburn too. Listen, Auburn looks like they're in this thing for the long haul. Florida still got the backup quarterback. Give me the Tigers, and I'll give the 3.5. Not an official point spread. I looked. I couldn't find one.
Yeah.
Furman at Samford. I just made this up. Give Samford 3.5 points. Don't know why. That sounds about right.
I don't know that makes me not want to pick this. I mean, what if Samford's really good and neither one of us know it?
Listen.
They just beat the snot out of Wofford.
Well, they beat the snot out of Wofford. They played 2 overtime games already this week. I think they won an overtime game where they scored 60-something points last week. I'm taking Samford at home and the 3.5. This thing turns into a shootout. Furman can't keep up offensively with Samford. Samford wins it 49-45. And you're going to give me points? Yes. Give me the Bulldogs.
I'm a Wofford grad. I can't take Furman, so I'm going to go with Samford too.
Now, Motorcycle Tom.
Yeah, well.
Boo.
You keep telling us how big you are. You don't know where we live. You don't even know our real names.
Get well game, the Tar Heels. I hope that there's not a hangover on this one. I really hope. And they're at Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets getting 10 points. A little hangover scares me. That's a lot of points, but Georgia Tech is bad. I'm
not sure that this isn't a good point spread if you guys don't even have the ball.
Yeah,
if you just let Georgia Tech try to run their offense.
I think early on there might be a little bit, but as the game goes on, we're going to realize, listen, these guys are terrible. Carolina wins this one running away and covers that 10-point spread easily.
I don't know if they win it running away. I think they win it by more than 10.
And then lastly, Michigan State, number 25 in the country, at what, in my opinion, is the unranked number 4 Ohio State because, listen, they look tough, man. They look like they're the real deal. The Buckeyes.
And no one's really talking about it yet.
Not yet. But they, oh my goodness gracious, what they did Saturday.
Is there a breath of fresh air in that locker room? Is it
maybe
getting the undead master
I kind of thought coming in like, Urban Meyer always had like little magical pixie dust he would sprinkle around. Like now he's not. Now that he's not there, look, Ryan Day's good, and they still got a lot of these players, but he's not Urban Meyer.
I don't find myself hating them the way I have in the past.
They are a bad bunch up there in Columbus. The Buckeyes giving up 21 points. BG 21 points in a ranked matchup. Seems absurd.
But we've seen the way this stuff goes this season.
Seems absurd. I'm giving them, man. I will give Ohio. I will take Ohio State and give however many points you want to give to almost anybody.
Michigan State is a good football team. That's about all you can say about it. I don't know that they're the 25th best team in the country.
I think the gap between 5 and 6 and everybody else is so huge.
It is.
It is massive. Even against a ranked team in a conference game, I'll give you the points because Ohio State just looks ridiculous right now.
Agreed.
That is it for what episode number is this? 139. You can email the show, get your picks, play along at CarolinaBorderWar.com, and whichever of the podcast hosts that you prefer, Like the show, subscribe to the show. We'll pop right back up each week every time we upload one. It's glad to be back. Stick around. Episode 140 is on the way.
That ball literally bounced twice before Dez grabbed it. It
No, it
bounced 3 feet off the ground. I don't know how anybody could argue.
Did you see the guy from Ohio State catch an interception on his back?
I did not.